Welcome, everyone, to Pokemon Cards with Terry. On this channel, we take a look into individual Pokemon cards, focusing on how they perform in battle rather than just their collectible value. If you enjoy the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's jump in. Today, we're looking at another evolution line. This time, it's Pidove we will be visiting. Let's start with the basic stage of this Pokemon. This Pidove card is number 133 out of 162 in the Temporal Forces set. This Pidove is a normal type Pokemon with 50 horsepower. It's a basic Pokemon and evolves up to Stage 2 Pokemon. Pidove has a weakness of 2 times against lightning types and has a resistance of 30 to fighting types. Its retreat cost is 1 energy, and if Pidove is knocked out, your opponent takes 1 prize card. Pidove's ability is called Emergency Evolution. Once during your turn, if Pidove has 30 or less horsepower remaining, you can search your deck for an Unfezant and evolve Pidove, skipping its Stage 1 Tranquil. Pidove's only attack, Gust, requires 1 energy of any type. This attack does a very small 10 damage. Now let's move on to its next evolution, Tranquil. This Tranquil card is number 134 out of 162 in the Temporal Forces set. Tranquil is also a normal type Pokemon, and it has 80 horsepower. It's a Stage 1 Pokemon. Like Pidove, Tranquil's weakness is 2 times against lightning types, and it has a resistance of 30 to fighting types. It has no retreat cost, and if Tranquil is knocked out, your opponent will take 1 prize card. Tranquil's first attack, Speed Dive, uses 1 energy of any type. This attack does 20 damage with no other effects. Tranquil's second attack, Jet Wing, requires 2 energies of any type and does 70 damage. Although on his next turn, Tranquil cannot attack. And lastly, let's look at Pidove's Stage 2 evolution, Unfezant. This Unfezant card is number 135 out of 162 in the Temporal Forces set. Unfezant is also a normal type Pokemon, and it has 150 horsepower. It's a Stage 2 Pokemon. Like Pidove, Unfezant's weakness is 2 times against lightning types, and it has a resistance of 30 to fighting types. It has no retreat cost, and if Unfezant is knocked out, your opponent will take 1 card. Unfezant's first attack, Opposing Winds, uses 2 energies of any type. This attack does 70 damage and has an effect. With this attack, you may take 2 energies that are attached to an opponent's active Pokemon and put them back into your opponent's hand. Unfezant's second attack, Boundless Power, requires 3 energies of any type and does 180 damage. Although on the next turn, Unfezant cannot attack. So what's the value of this evolution line when adding these cards to your deck? These 3 Pokemon are interesting because they are flying types, which means they don't have a weakness to fighting types like most normal Pokemon do. They also have the benefit of having no retreat cost except Pidove for some reason, which allows for some freedom moving them around the battlefield. Pidove is a really uninteresting Pokemon to say the least. His attack is as weak as it gets, and his only saving grace is his ability to skip the evolution to Tranquil and go straight to Unfezant. Tranquil is also pretty mediocre, both in its attacks aren't terribly powerful, and if he uses his Jet Wing attack, he is left vulnerable every second turn. Unfezant is where the action's at. His attack, Opposing Winds, can disarm your opponent's Pokemon by starving them of energy. The 70 damage to boot is a nice bonus as well. Boundless Power does a pile of damage as well, but unfortunately Unfezant can attack in the next turn after using it. Now the question, are they worth putting into your deck? Being normal types, I feel like they would fit in with just about any type of deck you could make. Pidove is pretty meh, and Tranquil isn't really much better. Unfezant is pretty decent, but you need to draw Pidove before you can use him. I'd say they are worth putting in your deck if you need some filler cards that have some flexibility in gameplay. Free retreat cost is definitely a cool bonus. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in for the next card review.